For more, let's bring in Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin. You're a businessman, or
right?
Is this up to snuff? What do you think of it, this deal?
You know, Dagan, there is no perfect bill when it comes to Washington, D.C. No one can name a perfect bill, but you got to think about it. The Republicans right now, and Kevin McCarthy, he's fighting with a three-legged stool, and he only has one leg to hold on to. The White House has one, and Chuck Schumer has one. And I think the bill that he's negotiated has got a lot of conservative wins for it. I mean, you think about it, work requirements. The Democrats was like, heck no, we're not going to have work requirements. We have work requirements, enforceable work requirements that closes the loophole in a lot of blue states that allow them to get around work requirements. We're going to make students or college students actually start repaying back their student loans, which is equivalent to about $5 billion a month. It's the first time that we're actually going to spend more or spend less money than we spent the year before in over a decade. You start talking about calling back $400 billion of COVID money that's now going to come back and be reappropriated the way that it should, rather than allow Governor Newsom to spend it in ways that is out of control of Congress. You start looking at IRS agents. We're taking $1.5 billion out, preventing the IRS from hiring these 87,000 new IRS agents. So there's plenty of things to like about the bill. But there's also stuff that's, hey, it's an imperfect bill. But considering what we've got, when you negotiate in business, you negotiate in good faith, get the best deal you can get, and move on down the road.
You know, Senator, when you and I were in the House together, we always talked about the art of the possible, right? What can we get done when you have divided government? And it's important to think about bills like this under that viewpoint. The problem I have, though, is we're using the bloated baseline of COVID to start the spending negotiations. And when we're $32 trillion in debt, at one point, there's going to be a debt crisis. And the question becomes, if we don't start to get our hands around the spending, we're going to have real trouble in the future. And I don't know if it comes in 3 years, 8 years, 15 years, but it's going to be a massive problem. And so is now not the time to really dig in and try to get that spending reform? You wait for a different day, or what's your analysis on that? Because I'm concerned about the debt.
Sean, all of us are concerned about the debt, just like you, and there's no question about it. Keep in mind, without this deal, what Biden and Chuck Schumer wanted was a clean CR. That means they keep the spending levels at what they currently are. That was a no. We're not doing a clean CR. We're not raising taxes. That's exactly what the Democrats wanted. So that's where we started with. The only bill we had to negotiate with was the House bill that Kevin McCarthy made. And this does claw back spending. Does it claw it back to where we need it to go? Absolutely not. And hopefully, when we get control of the White House in 2024, and we kick Chuck Schumer to the curb, and the Republicans take control of both chambers, then if we don't have serious cuts, that's on us. But right now, we still have to negotiate with Democrats, these socialist Democrats that believe you cannot spend enough, and you shouldn't even have a debt limit increase anyways. It should be on automatic pilot. So with what we have, I think we did the best job we could get.
I said a couple of weeks ago, I said a bipartisan means doing a deal that the far left and people who are super conservative both hate. So that's
exactly what you have here, don't you, Dagan?
Right, exactly.
Dagan's been talking for I don't know how long, Senator, about the student loan forgiveness program, and you got that, Dagan. They listened to you to remedy that problem.
No, they didn't, because it was supposed to expire in August anyway. Maybe Joe Biden would have extended it again, but that was debt basically that was already forgiven because it was inflated away because there was no interest accrual on it.
Yeah, but Dagan, I don't think there's any way in the world that Biden wasn't going to re-up that.
Right.
They had been trying to do student loan forgiveness as a whole. And the idea that now in 60 days they got to start paying it back, and that in a tune of $5 billion per month back into the treasurer, that's a huge win. And just think about the work requirements. Who can argue about the work requirements? Why wouldn't a single individual with no disabilities and no dependents, why wouldn't we want them to work? Why is it that the Democrats said that they shouldn't work? That's like a 70% issue in both parties, and that's a huge win for us. And so there is a lot of positives, but I'm not going to sit out there and say that this bill's perfect. It's far from perfect. But considering with who we're having to negotiate with, it's it's a lot better deal than what I thought we was going to end up with.
Do you want to get to this?
You go.
Okay. A major energy regulator is warning that at least two-thirds of the United States is under the threat of blackouts this summer. Look at the map. It's essentially every state west of the Mississippi, including your state of Oklahoma.
Right.
Senator, you wrote on FoxNews.com an opinion piece. You laid out how Biden's radical green energy policies are straining our electric grid. And some of the blackouts are coming from this new policy that came out of the EPA on power plants that was just introduced a few months ago.
Right. When you start looking at the policies that they're trying to force on the American people, they're trying to bring down California-style energy policies on the rest of the country. Now, think about it. California has been struggling with blackouts for a decade now. So if they're trying to impose those policies on us, meaning us, the rest of the world, or the rest of the country, why wouldn't we think we're going to have rolling blackouts? But just think about this. They're wanting to go total electric. And the average household right now only has a 200-watt service, 200 watts. If you charge 2 vehicles overnight, that itself takes 200 watts. So you're going to have to increase each household from a 200-watt service to a 400-watt service. We don't have, that's just households. That's not talking about fleet of semis or fleets like my company has in the plumbing industry to charge those overnight. You're talking about having to double and triple the size of our grid. Right now, underneath the permits that the Biden administration is putting on the American people for infrastructure, it's 7 years to just get the NEPA, permitting done. Which, by the way, in this bill the debt ceiling bill that we're fighting right now, that actually has NEPA reforms. It takes that 7 years to 2 years. But our grid system, it's going to become a national security risk if they actually push this Green New Deal down the American people's throat. And the people in the White House, they know this. The Secretary of Energy, they know this. But they can't get away from their socialist move to try to get us off of fossil fuels and more dependent on the federal government.
Senator Markwayne Mullin, always awesome to talk to you. Thanks for joining us tonight on The Bottom Line.
Sean, thank you.
Thank you.